to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello everyone, welcome back to the frivolity. My apologies, I got sort of distracted talking about Google Shorts and clips and how we're gonna somehow reach social media. And when is Brian gonna stop swearing like a drunken sailor? Anyway, welcome back to the party. My apologies. Actually, we're doing the show on Julian time today. But anyway, yeah, hopefully we'll have a nice little convo here with you guys. If anything, I do have to get a little bit more religious about keeping these public rants to about Monday to Friday to about 30 minutes. So let's try really hard. We started 10 minutes past the hour, 40 minutes past the hour. We're done. And we'll head on over and hang out in the after party. Maybe take a little boo at some of the results from screeners and using the engine to give us an idea of what to expect in the market, and also take a look at some of the setups that I am tracking right now off the lower time frames to get my day trading sort of up and running. Did notice, and I don't know whether you guys out in YouTube land and people on the site watching this been seeing, but I did notice that the paper trading function over on TradingView is acting really weird today. So I mean, I always like to have the sim trader up and running and rocking and rolling and all that, and I noticed just some weird stuff. So just be careful with your platform. Right now I have 149 open orders working on this sim. And the weirdest thing, I mean, I don't know what the hell this is. NSE? It is. I think that must be some Asian exchange or something. So obviously this paper trading thing, and of course the accounts all going all screwy. But man, this is absolute mess. I guess, and I can't close any of this stuff. So just be careful if you are using this function today. It looks like TradingView is having a bit of a hiccup. As well too, I am working away on getting the spread trading platform up and running up on Interactive Brokers. This is just a sim, just trying to get this spread trading function, just self-teaching myself platform. And I always think it's a good idea that if you're going to start out with some sort of platform, something just any new trading plan that you're going to do, maybe just do like 20 trades or so, just to make damn sure you're following all the rules and doing everything correctly according to the setup, and you feel comfortable with the platform, because man, it's really easy to lose money in this game, folks. In fact, the system's kind of designed to take your money from you. So and if anything, what a great analogy of Monday, right? Oh boy, it's going to be a bit of a slog here. Where should we start the conversation? I guess first and foremost, breadth indicator still pointing down. We're getting to the point now where you can see histograms, like country funds. I don't know whether you heard the train wreck coming out of China continues. And if anything, I think the central bank there now is trying to cut rates to stimulate the local economy. Not quite sure how that's going to affect their currencies. We did actually look at the currencies very briefly in the Broiler Chicken show yesterday, and that was an interesting quick look. I might actually spend the after party time today just looking at the system and what the various currencies of the world are trying to tell us. Because I do think that in itself is, they always say currencies lead everything. So general message from the breadth indicator is, of course, we've been pointing down for quite some time here now. Well, not quite some time, saying that past month or so. And I get the impression that the market's just trying to clean itself up, kind of like my recent conversations about Bitcoin with the big bearish divergence that was established on the weekly charts. you can't really get bullish again until that stuff cleans itself up. And, maybe we're just in a big hurry up and wait until that happens. That might be the case. So, I mean, maybe we'll talk a little Bitcoin near the latter part of this broadcast. But, buy when it snows, sell when it goes. They don't call it the fall for nothing. September is usually the worst performing month in the market. So, all the pieces are in place for us to have a bit of a choppy next few months. And really, that's what I expect. So don't be surprised. Um, Demonstrator of best practices, of course, made reference to it yesterday. Anybody that really would like to do the boot camp this fall, really need for you guys to get active in the boot camp room that we have on the site, and it's great that you guys are as active as you are in here. We should probably plan to have a meeting this weekend. So anybody who is interested in participating in this over in Western Europe this fall, just be sure to pop in. Maybe you have to join the pro boot camp room. I don't know. But let's all plan to have that meeting this Saturday. So I'm going to basically mention it every video, and I would like to see if there is interest. We really get serious about this conversation over the next week or two. So I wanted to mention that. And really what I'm just going to basically be doing at the boot camp is just sort of how do you set yourself up, and then just expect to come to the market and basically run your small business of trading on a regular basis. What are we going to do here? So first things first, I think it's a good idea on the weekends to do like a circle around and just look at bigger picture stuff. I like to look at the daily charts on the various different markets I'm following. From a day trading perspective, I like to watch gold, crude, ES, and good old Bitcoin. I don't think really Bitcoin's a really good day trading vehicle. It might be a half decent swing trading vehicle for the futures, but I think they're still too thin to really effectively day trade. But nonetheless, the only way you're going to find that out is by tracking and analyzing and paper trading and all that, and seeing if your setups actually fire. And as I said, I'm just not seeing the setups actually fire for day trades. But nonetheless, good to have a sort of a good overview of what the futures people are seeing. And as well too, I like to on the weekend take a real good look at the US dollar index. And in fact, actually I think I said this just a second ago, right? Currencies lead everything. So if the US dollar is rallying against all the currencies in the world, what does that mean? If the US dollar is selling off versus all the currencies around the world, what does that mean? And believe it or not, there are very direct messages. And I mean, I don't think it's a shock to anybody. China's a shit show right now. Asia has been sort of on this relentless growth path since 2001, 2000, well, yeah, maybe 2002, 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. And I think, the bubble went way too far, way too inflated. And now, unfortunately, that's unwinding. And actually, we should expect to see these, like the Chinese yuan, the Canadian dollar, Russian ruble, Australian dollar, and even really Japanese yen for that matter. All of those kind of currencies should basically be weaker over the next 10, 15 years as the bubble, that the fundamental reason is going to be that the bubble basically deflates, and their societies are going to have to go back to figuring out what base value is. And over the course of that period, you'll probably find that the US dollar actually catches a bit of a bid because growth prospects are very uncertain, especially out of Asia. Then, of course, you can make the argument war and murder and death over there in Eastern Europe. It's not helping the situation for Europe. And, heaven forbid, but I mean, this is just rhetoric, but my hunch is that whole thing has to end with some sort of nuclear event. which is probably not going to help Europe for the next 10, 20 years. Anyway, cross that bridge when we come to it. So to start off the week, as I said, I always like to look at the 4 hour charts, and then they sort of looking at the 4 hour charts, I'll get an idea of what I'm thinking. Actually, it was interesting. I was looking at this horizontal support and resistance level here this morning, but it was only one reason. But it turns out actually that was a half decent level to be hunting long entries on the gold this morning. A little bit of a, I guess, a contrarian trade in that the gold sort of launched itself down right out of the gate into those support levels, and you can see how it's bounced back up. I would have been uber interested in taking the trade idea, and what I usually like to do off the lower time frames, throw on the VWAP, and if you get a half decent bottom come in here, I'm just looking for a return to the mean, a return to the VWAP. So I think that was the trade this morning. It looks like it worked. I just didn't really have any bullish divergence messages down here, but you can see on the horizontal support and resistance, that was a half decent level to be hunting something there. Didn't really see anything else. When I look at something like the crude here actually I think is actually just starting to roll over now. We banged into 2.618s off the bottoms. We had a bull ABCD that was pretty well telegraphed. You can see kind of like the Bitcoin chart. This is a daily chart, but huge bearish divs confirmed with Willie Stupid and RSI rolling over here. So really, and this would be more like a position trade. If I get any kind of M top, any kind of failure here, that actually sets up, I think, a pretty good looking short in the energy market. And I get the impression that part of the reason why crude was moving up the way that it is through this period, this is usually hurricane season, and the energy markets usually catch a bit of a bid, out of sort of worry about hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico. But I haven't really heard too much negative news out of the Gulf of Mexico. If anything, the irony of it all is this go round, and I think it's like the first time in like 30 years or something like that, Southern California is actually worried about hurricanes and tropical storms and stuff, which, if anything, it's probably a good thing that the Southwest actually gets some rain. But these stupid talking heads, they're going to spin this. And I saw, it's just such a great anecdote of this. Clearly, there's people that are operating messages and trying to manipulate society and the population to panic and stuff. The state of California, in anticipation, declared a state of emergency before the storms. I mean, what the hell's the point of the state of emergency? I mean, it's supposed to be like, oh my God, we're in a state of emergency. You can't just go and declare states of emergencies before something even happens. I mean, that to me sounds to me like the 1%, the people that own the media, they really want to freak the public out. And they really want to motivate them, of course, in ramming this whole sort of, well, it's all global warming's fault, right? And all that nonsense kind of talk. Anyway, political. So, oil market, kind of no man's land. I wasn't really overly impressed with location here. Didn't really consider doing much there today. Stock market, seems to me what happened, and I noticed this on some of the big tech stocks. Of course, it was crazy function. I don't know. TradingView just did a major hiccup here. But I noticed like Nvidia, for example. Interesting how Nvidia did carve out that daily upside key reversal last week. And we're kind of humming on. Okay, how is this going to play out? Very typical fashion. The signal did actually confirm. I mean, it's a huge trade risk, and of course, there's TradingView's nonsense stuff. Still, I'm not quite sure what the hell's going on with this site. Obviously, I've got a major hiccup, but wow, what a move higher this morning. And I'm just wondering whether this had a lot to do with that Friday options expiry, the big August contract. I have a feeling it does. Also, too, you might argue that you had a M tops and you have key reversals, huge battle line right here. I think probably the best thing to do is just let this thing settle down before making any grand decisions. I'm not certainly interested in taking a trade, but did notice he jumped out of the gate violently. And then also, I think the same thing happened with Tesla here today. So I get the feeling that the stock was very, very weak into Friday, simply because of options expiry, and I get the feeling that somebody had an agenda here. And then right out of the gate, first thing this morning, the damn thing just launches itself higher here. And ironically enough, you actually look at the boards, everything else is just like blah, except for those two stocks. I mean, it looks like some of the other chip stocks are going to be dragged higher. Looks like we have one little winner right here. Who's this guy? Palo. Actually, that's interesting. Palo Alto Networks. There's one guy on YouTube that I like listening to, and he was talking about how I guess of BlackRock recently disseminated their top holdings. And you notice there is that Palo Alto Networks up a good 15% on the day, on one day. Wow, that's a big move. So that actually caught my attention as well. So you can see BlackRock's stocks are rocking and rolling here. And you might actually find that Apple actually starts to calm down here a little bit. Um, I get the impression, and again, there's more of TradingView sort of nonsense. I don't know what the hell's going on with their platform here today. But I get the impression that we're coming into things like first stop targets and Collins pump chaser zone. Where's Colin? There he is. So 38.2 is pretty darn close here. I'm getting, and I suppose we could probably even do fog and bombs. I had these charts all up somewhere else, but suppose I can just do this up for you here. Boom. So I like this as an ultimate technical objective. I do like the idea though that yeah, maybe we do a bit of back and forth. This was just basically straight line down. Let's see if we can actually carve out some structure for the sort of either next leg up or down. I don't think we really have any fundamentals coming up on this thing. So I think it's probably just going to simply trade off of what the anticipation out of China is. And, any of these companies, I think, like I said, the news overnight was that China come out and like cut interest rates, which hopefully stimulates the local economy and all that kind of conversation. In fact, if we, where do we have that? I think I remember seeing lots of news about China cutting interest rates. I'm interested to see what actually is going to be the big driver for Nvidia launching itself higher here. Was it actually any fundamental drivers, or was it just a lack of sellers? Um, it's Monday, and if anything, it's not a bad idea just to let things open up on Mondays and breathe a little bit. When I pulled up the chart for the stock market this morning, that ES chart, we did bang into a fog and bomb late, I guess, late session Friday, maybe even that was Thursday. And I think what you're having happen here is just a sort of backfilling here. But at the same time, too, this is a pretty powerful channel that it looks to me like to be fairly significant resistance. So it's kind of like, yeah, do you really want to place a lot of big bets here first thing Monday morning? Here we were sort of starting out up top here, had huge dump back down into these lows. Interesting, back down into this 1.618 extension level off of that AB equals CD. But on balance, I don't really have anything to work with there. That's just a mess. So I've been leery about even thinking about putting anything on here this morning. The crude market I think actually looks pretty toppy. And The gold market actually, I got the funny feeling actually we're trying to find some sort of pivot low here. But the problem is, I don't really want to step in front of this gold market until it has actually turned. I suppose one good reference is they did take out this most recent high. So now we kind of technically have a megaphone working on the gold market. But again, like I said, if there was a trade to be done, it was first thing this morning against those lows. I didn't really have any divs, but look at all the divs that were built up here. So, yeah, I don't fault anybody who took a shot off that gold low this morning. That wasn't a bad idea. I suppose, like I said, this is a bit of an odd image in that, especially when I first woke up this morning, there was basically only two stocks up and the rest of the market was just blah. I think you can see that the tech stock inertia, and I don't know whether you call Tesla tech stock or not, but definitely the semiconductors, they're sort of lifting other parts of the tech arena. Things like Meta and Microsoft are starting to turn back up here. So, what do we got here? We got the Dow off about 0.4%. We've got the NASDAQ up about 0.8%. So as a result, put them all together, smush it together. You got the ES up about 0.1%. And the Russell 2000 as a proxy on the broader sort of stock market, small caps. That's what all this is here. Yeah, they're down about 0.5% on the day. Yeah. All right. Thank you, sir. So, not a heck of a lot of news here today. Econs, very light. That's probably half the reason why this is kind of like a dead cat bounce kind of day. If anything, probably the powers that be are kind of happier to see that the Canadian housing market is maybe starting to cool down here a bit. Who knows? I think you heard my rants yesterday. I don't know whether I articulated this now, but I think I wouldn't mind going into the after party and sort of exploring this idea a little bit further. It's the idea that this scenario ends either one of two ways in Canada. Either A, the government steps in and props the market up by spending a whole bunch of money they don't have, and housing prices and food prices and all the commodity prices and stuff in our society stay high. But if you continually to dilute the currency, then the currency in the global eye should fall. So that's, scenario one is yes, these prices stay hyperinflated, but the currency starts to collapse on the world stage. Scenario two is you defend the capital stock of your country, your currency. So the currency holds in here, but the local economy suffers and the prices of houses and stuff start coming back down to normal. Honestly, I don't know which way it's going to go. You've got a guy who's in power right now who is a card-carrying socialist, communist, right? And you know what the communist solution is. Look at Venezuela, look at Cuba, look at Russia, or, before Putin. I don't know what the fuck you call those guys now. But, like Soviet Russia, hell, even China for that matter, before this insanity of what's happened over the past 20 years. This story always goes the same way. So they print money to try and placate the populace. Here, free money, vote for me. Look at me, I'm awesome. Isn't communism wonderful? And the currency just absolutely collapses. So that's usually how it goes. So it's either damned if you do or damned if you don't. I think it would actually be in Canada's best interest to get these housing prices back down into even just affordable levels. This is kind of silly where a single family can't even afford to buy a home now. That's just unsustainable. At some point, the whole damn house of cards has to collapse in on itself. So, anyway, that's a bunch of rhetoric. I don't know whether that's really going to help your day or not. But I guess the general message that I'm trying to convey here, very light news day. We have later on in the week, we're also coming into the end of the summer. So it's sort of like this is 90% of the professionals in the market are not even going to be around this week. We have Labor Day weekend coming up, not this coming weekend, but next coming weekend. The US Federal Reserve and all the central bankers and stuff are going to be in Jackson's Hole. And, I would actually argue this is a perfect environment for lots of FUs all over the place. And I did notice, obviously, crypto's looking a little bit challenging now. The weekly charts have basically, they haven't rolled over. We're not a bear here yet. If anything, I love these kind of rainbow indicators. So you can see that we transitioning from outright bear to bull. You can see how all the moving averages all sort of rainbow crossed here. You can see how all the moving averages are tightening up here. We haven't crossed bear yet, right? And so the very basic look is just sort of my default moving averages. You can see how they're all coming together. So we're at a very interesting moment in time. Notice how when all the moving averages all came together here, we turned back up, and of course it laid the groundwork for the bull market that we've just enjoyed over the past 6 months. So we're right on the precipice. I don't know. I mean, frankly speaking, nobody can predict the future. My hunch is that we're probably going to go sideways here for the next, probably few weeks. And then we're going to find out whether we have to go back into a bear for maybe the next 6 months. Buy when it snows, right? This whole November, December, usually venture cap likes to bottom, the last week of December, first week of the new year. Don't be shocked if we actually have to go through a consolidation period. And this is just food for thought. You never know exactly what the drivers are. But we have been watching this guy for quite a while. And this was sort of, like all of these things. You remember Luna and Celsius and all those other sort of, DeFi kind of plays. They all went zooming up and FTX and all that. And then they all came basically crashing back down to earth. And it was always a conjecture of, when was BNB going to finally break? And I'll tell you, just looking at this price chart, that's a very, very negative image. So be careful here in this space. This space is not pointing up right now. In fact, it's actually pointing down. Is this the sort of the catalyst that is sort of what is going to be sort of the hallmark of this coming bear, is the final unwinding of CZ and Binance and stuff? I don't know. I mean, the guy's made of Teflon, so my hunch is he probably skirts his way out of this. But I'll tell you, he kind of jumped out of the fire and jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire with him heading over to China. And if he says the wrong thing to the wrong guy over there, he might just spend the rest of his living days in some sort of work camp. Has anybody ever seen Jackie Chan? Is that guy still alive? How about Jack Ma? Did that guy ever get released? I mean, those are two figureheads that I can think of just off the top of my head that were critical of the CCP. Jackie Chan is hardcore comedy. Is he still? You don't hear about the guy anymore though. He kind of disappeared, eh? But he was critical a long time ago, and then he kind of semi disappeared, and then and I guess he is still back anyway. And then Jack Ma and all that kind of stuff. So he's flirting with disaster. All I'm gonna say is the chart. If the chart is speaking to us, the chart is warning us that, hey, there could be trouble down the pike here. I don't know whether names, probably, I think it's a good idea that if you're going to be sort of measuring whether a market is still a bull and things are still rocking and rolling, is try and look at the leaders. What are the leaders doing? So this is a really interesting textbook. I mean, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm going to get my double off here. That would still be quite a bit higher. I doubt it. I could very easily see this thing have to work its way back down against these lows. You can start to see, as technicians, we can start to see things like M's in indicators. RSI is officially overbought. Willie is officially, did Willie? Actually, Willie is not officially overbought yet, so that's a good sign, I suppose. We hit 4.669s, so just keep an eye. If the guys start to break down, you remember last spring, right? We had our DR, and we had a really nice rally there because it was like last winter. And it was just really a question of how long was this leadership going to last? And you see, we started to top out M's and indicators. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised actually if we're sort of like right here with that rune. There might be one more push up top, but you can see how this rend is just basically come back down. This is the number one reason why you cannot chase in this space, folks. Just don't do it. Work your bids at reload zones, and you can see this guy's working his way right back down. You can see bids working. Wow, I want to buy. So the current leadership, and actually I heard a lot of people talking about that Shiba Inu again, but the current leadership, and I always find to keep an eye on this guy. Is he going to break to new highs? Oh boy, here we go. It'd be interesting to see if this guy can keep forging the new highs. But watch the leaders here, because the leaders are going to tell you whether this market's actually going to roll over into a bear. All right, I think that's basically your market summary. Like I said, it's the end of the summer. We got Jackson's Hole coming up here. So, the banksters are all going to, if anything, why is Bitcoin looking weak right now? And I don't have any buy signals here whatsoever. You're just going to have to let this thing settle down. But why is this looking weak? I think half of the reason is the banksters want to sit around and say, see, we've got this Bitcoin thing under control. It's just another asset in the market. We own the world, blah, 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 right? So and obviously this has taken a lot of sort of the inertia and the pump sort of summer rally. Woohoo, we're all going to get rich, sort of taking that out of the market. Econs, like I said, kind of light here this week. I don't think we're going to have a lot of sort of market moving data. And we're heading into Labor Day weekend here in the not too distant future. Couple that with some FUD over CZ and what's going to happen with this Binance coin. Because if I understand correctly, there's some sort of big liquidation level here that this thing's flirting with. So if there's going to be fireworks in the space, I'd keep an eye on how this chart's playing out, because that chart does not look happy at all. Okay, I think we'll leave the rant at that. Pop on over into the daily brief after party, and we'll chit chat a little bit about what the algorithms and screeners are trying to tell us, and maybe take a look at the currencies in detail and see if there's any questions that we need to answer from anybody on the site who wanted to do some follow-up from anything we were talking about recently. All right. Have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. If you have time, consider popping on over. Yeah, I don't know what page it is. Is it this page? Yeah. Pop on over, join our raffle. Well, not even shilling the course, just shilling the raffle. Maybe you're lucky and you win a free seat, and I can change your life for you. And then also too, while you're at it, maybe consider just reviewing what some recent students have had to say about the education program. And maybe it might be in your interest just to pony up a couple bucks and see if we can change your life if you don't happen to win the raffle. All right, have yourselves a great day. All the best. Hugs and kisses. We'll see everybody in the after party shortly. And the only thing left for Brian to say is bye for now.